Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. I'm very sorry for the delay. Was not able to connect or get my um, document up and running, so I had to go from another source. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Today we'll be going to Al-Falaq. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل أعوذ برب الفلق من شر ما خلق ومن شر غاسق إذا وقب ومن شر النفاثات في العقد ومن شر حاسد إذا حسد. Hazrat Muslim anhu, he says about this surah that the connection of these two surahs with the Surah Al-Ikhlas consists in the fact that in that surah, believers were enjoined to proclaim to the whole world that God is one and unique, and He is far above anything or any person being a partner in His divinity. In these two surahs, the believers are told that they should not be afraid of any tyrant, dictator, or ruler in the discharge of his sacred duty, and should hold firm belief that God is the sole director and controller of the whole universe, and that he has the power to protect his votaries from any harm or injuries which the forces of darkness might seek to do them. Though constituting an integral part of the Quran, these two surahs may be regarded as forming a sort of epilogue to it, or conclusion. The main body of the Quran seems to end with Surah Al-Ikhlas, which recapitulates, as it were in a nutshell, the basic Quranic principles, and in these two surahs, believers are enjoined to seek divine protection against deviating from the right path and against the mischief and evil which might adversely affect their material well-being and spiritual development. The Holy Prophet ﷺ used to recite these two surahs regularly before going to bed. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful. Au nom d'Allah, le Gracieux, le Miséricordieux. Allah के नाम के साथ जो बेइंतहा रहम करने वाला जो जो बेइंतहा रहम करने वाला बिन मांगे देने वाला और बार बार रहम करने वाला है. They is with en français au साथ Urdu में साथ. Ism is name in English and en français nom, Urdu में नाम. Allah is the same. Rahman is gracious, the misericordieux, Rahim karne wala, and Ar-Rahim is merciful in English and Le Miséricordieux en français. Urdu में min mange dene wala, bar bar rahim karne wala. Again, continuing on what the promised Messiah had commented, and it is very extensive, but I'm continuing on where I left off, and he's discussing about the two attributes of Rahman and Rahim. And he says, by the division of these two attributes, Allah aimed at dividing the Muslim people into two sections to the end that he made one section of them manifestations of divine glory, like Moses, and there were the companions of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam who readily staked their lives in battle. And he made the other group of them like Jesus, the manifestations of divine grace, and made them tender-hearted and put peace in their minds and trained them in excellent moral qualities. This group is the promised Messiah and those who followed him, women and men. Thus was fulfilled what Moses had predicted, and also what Jesus had foretold in his sayings, and thus was fulfilled the promise of the most powerful Lord. Moses foretold about the companions who were to be representatives of the attributes of Muhammad, our chosen prophet, and reflections of the glory of Allah, the Supreme, in the words, they will be unyielding against the disbelievers. Chapter 48, verses 30 of the Holy Quran. Jesus foretold about the others from among them and about the leader of this religious group, the Messiah, the manifestation of Ahmed, the compassionate, the forbearing, and the source of the grace of Allah, the compassionate, Rahim, and forgiving, in the words like a seed that sends forth its sprouts, chapter 48, verses 30, which delights the tillers. Each of them prophesied in terms of his own individual affinities, each selecting the group that represented his own traits and excellent moral qualities. So it's fascinating how Hazrat Masih Maud alayhi salatu wasalam, went to such depths in explaining about the two manifestations of these attributes, Rahman and Rahim, and the companions of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The first were his first Sahaba and those who came after, who accepted the becoming of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. قل أعوذ برب الفلق. Say, I seek refuge in the Lord of the Dawn. Dis, je cherche refuge auprès du Seigneur de l'aube. Tu कह दे कि मैं चीज़ों को पार कर नई चीज़ पैदा करने वाले रब की पनाह मांगता हूँ. So the first word in Arabic is qul, and this is in English is say, en français dit. Urdu में कह दे. A'udhu is in English is this is I seek refuge, and then en français je cherche refuge. Urdu में मैं पैदा मांगता हूँ, and be is with, en français auprès, and Urdu में साथ. And Rab is the Lord in English, Seigneur en français, and the same in Urdu, Rab. Al-Falak is of dawn, en français de l'aube, Urdu में Fajr ke. Here in the commentary, Hazrat Masih Maud Radhiyallahu Ta'ala Anhu says that Falak, among other things, means the daybreak or dawn, the whole creation, hell, the plain appearance of the truth after it had been dubious or doubtful, a low or depressed place of the earth between two hills, and elevated ground. And then he gave commentary of this verse, and he said that the believers, or a believer, is enjoined to invoke the protection of God, the Lord of Falak, in view of different meanings of the word he is told to pray. One, that when the night of darkness of Islam has passed away, in the morning of its bright future dawns, its sun should continue to shine till it reaches the meridian. Two, that God might protect him from the hidden and manifest evil of all that he has created, including the evils of heredity, bad environment, defective education, or other corrupting influences. Number three, that God should save him from the torments of hell in this life and in the hereafter. Number four, that God should enable him to avoid extremes and to adopt the middle course in all things, which is the safest course, since the idea implied in Rabubiyat is development by degrees and in stages. So the fourth is that we should pray that we avoid from extremes, and he explains here that Rab, because we are seeking refuge with the Rab. He says it's understood here that Rabubiyat um, is um, that where he goes on, or God goes on to develop by degrees and stages. So we can never move forward in extreme ways. And we always see, if we ponder, if we think over this, whenever we try to do something quickly to advance to an extreme level without going stage by stage, we end up with some trouble or problems. This is a law of nature, so we should. This is an excellent prayer when we are seeking the uh, protection from Allah. When we say "Kul a'udhu bi Rabbil Falak," when we protection from Allah, from the Al Falak, from this kind of darkness, this kind of extremes. Min sharri ma khalaq, from the evil of that which He has created, contre le mal de ce qu'il a créé, उसके शर से जो उसने पैदा किया. So the first word is min, this is from in English, and en français contre. And Urdu में से, shar is in English is evil, en français mal, and Urdu में बुराई या shar. And ma is that in English, and que en français, in Urdu में jo, khalaq, he has, or khalaqa, he has created in English, il a créé, Urdu में उसने पैदा किया. وَمِن شَرِّ غَاسِقٍ إِذَا وَقَبَ, and from the evil of the night when it overspreads, et contre le mal de la nuit lorsqu'elle s'étend. S'étend. और अंधेरा करने वाले के शर से जब वो चा चुका हूँ. So here the first word is, we're doing repetition, is we know that wa and min, we covered that, and shar we covered that already. Ghasiqin is of the night, and en français de la nuit. उर्दू में रात की या अंधेरे के. Ida is when, en français lorsque, Urdu में jab. Waqab is it overspread, when it covered. En français elle s'étend. Urdu में वो चा चुका हूँ. So Hazrat Muslim Anhu has said that Ghasiqin, or darkness, is derived from Ghasaqa, which means it became dark or intensely dark. Al-Ghasiqin means the night, darkness, the Pleiades when it sets, that is the stars in the sky, a constellation of stars in the sky when it sets, the moon when it is eclipsed, the sun when it sets, the day when it enters upon the night. And Huzur says that the verse may refer to the evils of the time when the light of truth becomes extinguished and the darkness of sin and inequity spreads over the entire face of the earth. Or it may refer to the evils of the time when one is overwhelmed by distress and privation, when it is darkness all around him, and the last ray of hope disappears. See also the last verse of the surah. وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. Here, before we go into translation, this is one of the nafathati or nafathat. This you have noon fa, and then you have the letter tha. This is sometimes pronounced incorrectly, like s in English, sa, which is incorrect. It's more towards the sound of the pronunciation of in English when you have tha, it sounds more closely to that. So this should be pronounced nafa fa ti, not nafa sa ti. Anyhow, so the translation of this ayat is, and from the evil of those who blow into knots to undo them. Et contre le mal de ceux qui soufflent sur les noms pour les défaire. और गिरों में फूंकने वालों के शर से. So we covered the first part of this, the first three wa min shar already. Nafathati, this is those who blow. Ce qui souffle en français. उर्दू में वो जो फूकते हैं. And fi is into français sur and Urdu mein, and al aqad, sorry, al uqad, this is in English knots, no, français, and girin, Urdu mein girin. So this word al-uqad, this is the knots, or the in other sense the relationships, the unity that people have strength with each other. So this is the understanding of that word knots. Here Hazrat Muslim Maud Ta'ala Anhu says that nafathat, who blow, is derived from natha, nafatha, which means he spat. Nafathat means those groups that spit or emit such poison, those who whisper evil suggestions. The reference in the verse is to those those whisperers of evil suggestions who cause solemn contracts and friendships to break down, and who inspire people with a spirit of defiance of established authority, or with violating the oath of fealty, or that's loyalty, and thus seek to create discord and dissension in the Muslim community, and to encourage Pisiparus, which is the tendencies, which is um, even as you can tell, this is not a common word for me. I checked this word. This is basically a tendency towards disuniting a group of people, or disuniting others. So to encourage the dissension or disuniting among them. For a detailed note of the whole surah, see next verse. وَمِن شَرِّ حَاسِدٍ إِذَا حَسَدَ. And from the evil of the envier when he envies. Et contre le mal de envieux lorsqu'il envie. Or hasad, or hasad ki or hasad ke shar se jab wo hasad kare. So we covered here again wa min and shar, and ha hasid is translated in English as of envier, en français envieux, envieux, उर्दू में वो जो punte. And then Ida is when, en français los, hein, or mais. And the last word, hasad, he envies, il envie, girhe. So the last comment of this surah, which has a Muslim mentioned 2 times in preceding ayat, he says that about this surah, the surah deals with the material side of man's life as does the next surah with its spiritual side. Man is confronted with various kinds of dangers and difficulties in life when he is engaged in an undertaking of a serious import, particularly when he takes upon himself to spread the light of truth. Forces of darkness surround him on all sides, and when he proceeds further, men of evil designs bar his way and create all sorts of impediments and difficulties. When at last success dawns on him, persons of a jealous nature seek to deprive him of the fruit of his labor. As protection against all these difficulties, obstacles, and perils in life, the believer is enjoined to invoke the help and assistance of the Lord of Falak, to give him light when there is darkness all around, to protect him from the evil designs of mischief makers and the nefarious machinations of jealous persons. What a complete and comprehensive prayer! The last 2 surahs of the Quran may also specially refer to the time of the promised Messiah and Mahdi. Verse 4 of the present surah may refer to the eclipses of the sun and the moon, which, according to a well-known saying of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, were to take place in the time of the Mahdi, which is from Qutni. And the last 2 verses may refer to his enemies who will create all sorts of difficulties for him and will burn with rage as they will see his mission making rapid progress. Hasada, the envious one, may also refer to the Dajjal, the arch envier who will give the promised Mahdi an obstinate fight. Jazakumullah. Inshallah, we will continue tomorrow and with the last surah of the Holy Quran. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.